Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cameras and Coffee. 4 years ago, I started off this series because I found myself with a sudden 40 extra hours of free time each week, and I have once again found myself with 40 extra hours of free time each week. So, we started off 4 years ago talking about the future of photography as it's past. We are not even coming close to that subject today. We're going to talk about the Fuji half-frame rumor from, dang it, here we go, from FujiRumors.com. It is a rumor, but let's talk about it. All right, first up, from Hyperion Coffee, and these guys are in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I pronounce a lot of words wrong on this channel, I learned. Anyway, Hyperion Coffee Company. This is the Ariel Funes from Honduras. Comayagua. I'm getting that wrong too, I know. Anyway, they say that it should taste like raspberry, chocolate, pomegranate, red wine, and lemon. Let's put that to the test. It's fine. I'm not getting any of that. I'm not getting anything, really. It's fine. I've had other Hyperion coffees. I think they've been on the series before, and they're usually pretty good. This one might be a swing and a miss. Nothing offensive about it. It's just there. Okay. So, Fuji's half-frame camera has a 1-inch sensor. Now, there will be a link in the video's description if you'd like to read this article. And it starts off, I looked at this article, I was like, did Fuji, are they like using Pentax's Pentax 17 tooling for this thing? It looks like it's photoshopped, but it is photoshopped, I'm sure. Somebody took a Pentax 17, a product photo of it, and then photoshopped on Fujifilm XHF. And then photoshopped out the Pentax logo from the lens, but looks like they left all the other text there. Yeah, they did. Oh, that's some... All right, let's get back on track here. Fujifilm will release definitely a unique camera in 2025, a digital half-frame with a 1-inch sensor. I guess we can imagine it as sort of the digital version of the very successful, in parentheses, Pentax 17 half-frame film camera. No, we can't. We cannot picture it that way, and we're going to get to why in just a second. And it will come with a sensor size that Fujifilm has so far never used on any of their cameras, a 1-inch sensor. I would be really interested to know where this rumor came from and how credible the source is. I will personally hold on any judgment about this camera for now because the concept of digital half-frame camera is so unique that I will keep my mind open for it. By the way, I'm reading this verbatim. I do not mean to sound like I'm tearing apart the author's English. English clearly is a second language here. And by the way, by ESL, I used to teach ESL. I did that for a handful of years at the college level. By ESL standards, the writing's fine. If I were still teaching ESL and I got this level of grammatical completeness in an assignment, it would be like, here's where you need some commas and some extra words, but you're getting the gist of it. So I want to make sure I'm clear about that as I read this out loud, because I know when I read it out loud, it's probably sounding like I'm trying to call these things out, and I'm not. Oh, and just to be clear, the image above is not a leaked image of the Fujifilm half-frame camera, but just a quick rendering I made taking the Pentax 17 half-frame film camera as a base for it. So I'm glad that the author does, by the way, admit to that, which is exactly what it looks like. So, all it is, it's categorized as a rumor, but let's talk about something, the most interesting statement in here. And it will come with a sensor size that Fujifilm has so far never used on any of their cameras, a 1-inch sensor. Is a 1-inch sensor really half-frame? For those of you listening at home and not watching, I just shook my head as a no. It is not half frame. So the origin of the term half frame dates back to the 1950s. Well, actually it goes back earlier. In the 1930s, the first half frame cameras were 127 cameras. And the 127 format was originally 4 centimeters by 6 centimeters. And then these half frames came out and they were 3 centimeters by 2 centimeters. That's what we consider digital medium format today. Like that's half the size of a digital medium format. Digital medium format's 33 by 40. That's 30 by 20. So yeah, about there. But they were the original 127 was 40 by 60. So actually, it would have been 40 by 30 was half frame, which is what we call digital half frame. I through a process of trial and error managed to get to the correct numbers. So that's the original half frame. As we think about half frame today, however, the vernacular for that dates back to the 60s, when 35 millimeter film cameras were made in a half frame format. Instead of 36 millimeters wide and 24 tall, they were 24 tall and 17 or 18 wide, half of a standard 35 millimeter frame. So in modern vernacular for photography, half frame is that size. Do you want to know what else is that size? APS-C. APS-C sensors are half the size of a full-frame sensor. Full-frame sensors tend to be, in rough numbers, 36 by 24 millimeters. They're a hair smaller. It's fine. We're close enough there. APS-C is generally in the 17.5 to 18 millimeter by 23 to 24 millimeter range, literally half the size of that. It's just that the film half frames were all portrait orientation just because of the limitation of the way that film passed through the camera and the need to maximize the image space for a number of frames. Whereas APS-C, because they're digital, and the digital does stem from the APS-C film format that was at the end of the film era, but the APS-C digital sensors, because they were a new advent in technology, were all landscape, okay? But the actual size of the APS-C sensor is the same size as a half frame 35 millimeter film negative, okay? So is a 1-inch sensor really a half frame negative? Well, let me make sure I get my numbers correct here. Image sensor format on Wikipedia says that, dude, guys, I already donated this year. Size sensor size. I'm shading kind of formats. Here we go. Okay, thanks, Steinbeck. So the Steinbeck text is not showing up. So here, full frame is 36 by 24 millimeters. Then 1-inch sensors are, come on, a 1-inch sensor as used by Nikon and Sony is 13.2 by 8.8 millimeters. So let's call that 13 by 9, okay? That is roughly, you could put in, let's see if, let me do my math. 36 divided by 8 by 9 is 4. So 4 wide and about 2 tall. So a 1-inch sensor is actually 1/6 frame, not half frame. So I'm going to be pedantic and petty, and I'm going to take a little bit of an issue with naming a potential rumored Fuji 1-inch sensor camera a digital half frame. It should actually be called a digital 6th frame. If this rumor pans out to be true, do I think that's an interesting camera? It could be. I have nothing against smaller format sensors. A 1-inch sensor would be just fine for a lot of users. In fact, if you hike or backpack or ride your bike around town or whatever, a nice small camera with a very small pancake lens on the front of it, interchangeable or not, could be a really good companion for that type of thing. So the 1-inch sensor I don't think is used all that frequently. I think the J1 series, the Nikon 1 series used it. That's the Nikon reference. I don't know what Sony cameras used it off the top of my head, unless it's mostly for their camcorders or point and shoots. I think a small little Fuji with a 1-inch would be a really high potential camera, because Fuji cameras tend to be really good, and the colors that they generate. I have a GFX 50S too, and I've used some of their X series cameras. The colors that their cameras generate are fantastic. I really, really love Fuji images. They are really beautiful. So I think that in a 1-inch sensor could be a really neat carry-along camera. I would absolutely rent that to give it a shot and see how it is. I think that sounds really promising. So let us hope that this is a rumor with some foundation, and that it's something that comes to pass, because that would be a neat offering. So at any rate, links in the video description if you want to check it out and see the rumor for yourself. And have a good day, everyone. I'll see you in the next Cameras and Coffee.